You are listening to the Modern Polyamory Podcast, a podcast all about polyamory, ethical non-monogamy, swinging, kinks, and more. Now, let's get on to the show. Hi, I'm Jan. Welcome to Modern Polyamory. I'm here with Kyle, and we are here today to talk to you about checking in and why this is so important. And we have also a really great method for checking in that you can use.
Absolutely, yeah. Right at the end of this segment, we will be covering the radar method from multiamory.com. So if you want to check out the full method, you can head to their site. But before we get into that, we're just going to kind of cover the essentials on checking in, because not everybody might know what checking in is all about. So what is checking in?
Checking in is basically where you and your partner or your entire polycool could even do like a group mass check-in, where you get an opportunity to talk to your partner about things that are going well, things that maybe could use a little bit of correction, and spiff up your dynamic so that everybody is feeling good, better, secure.
Right. Yeah. It gives you like an opportunity to bring things to the table that may have been accumulating since your last check-in. And
right.
These can happen, whenever necessary, or every, Monday at 3, there can be a set schedule. It really depends on the couple and the dynamic and what works for them. So what are some things to be careful of when checking in? Because these situations that you talk about can sometimes get pretty heated.
Sure. Yeah. I think you want to avoid any kind of like immediate accusation, like you're doing this thing.
Right.
You should go and lead more with feelings, like I'm feeling this way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Using I am statements is a great way to communicate your feelings, or based on my experience is another way to do that, where you do on your experience say how you feel based on the things that you've seen, and that way you're not introducing speculation or conjecture and things
right.
like that. Yeah.
You also want to ask questions to gain understanding, because you're not inside someone else's head. You don't know what they're thinking, what they're feeling.
Absolutely.
You may have a feeling about something that isn't even going on in somebody else's mind.
Right. Yeah.
So it's always good to ask questions like, hey, I'm feeling this, and I'm just wondering, are you feeling this?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's important to use this kind of a clear method of communication during these check-ins, because it's not an opportunity to just get into a fight or a heated discussion. It's an opportunity to actually work through some things.
Exactly. I think with a check-in, you want the opposite of an argument.
Yeah.
You really want the opposite of an argument. You want somebody to come in and be open with their emotions and their feelings, and then you can be open with your emotions and your feelings. And, I feel like sometimes we don't give ourselves enough room to feel our feelings. And I think that with your partner, they're your trusted partner. Mm-hmm. And if you don't feel comfortable exposing these feelings to them, and they are directly related to them, then I think there might be a deeper set of problems.
Right.
There's a trust issue that's being breached in that situation.
Absolutely. So what are some general ways people can check in before we get into our system?
Oh, just like in general, I think that
the easy mode.
The easiest way is probably just to, if it's a nesting partner or somebody that you're with, the best method of check-in is an in-person check-in. So take some time, even if it's not your nesting partner and it's your other partner, and you don't have as much time with them as you would say have with your nesting partner. It's okay to take a little bit of that time, because this check-in can actually become very intimate too.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest goals of any check-in is to clear the air of anything that is bothering you, right?
And of course, if there is anything that is bothering you, strike when the iron is cold.
Sure.
They say strike when the iron is hot. You don't want to do that in a check-in or an argument. Anytime there's a disagreement, you want to strike when the iron is cold, when there's not as much emotion involved, there's not as much anxiety, definitely no anger. Yeah. And then everybody, if there does become a bit of a debate, then you just fight fair. You say,
Absolutely.
you make I'm feeling statements and you
Sure.
ask questions and you try and de-escalate tone and de-escalate the volume of your voice.
Right. Yeah. It's important to keep an eye out for those, the body language cues and the social cues of someone who's maybe getting upset or angry and things like that. And then that's a good time to take a little break and, regroup later when things are not as heated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the radar method, I think it's time we get into that.
I'm interested because I'm not as familiar with this.
Yeah. So this is a method that has been brought to my attention by a partner of mine, and we've been using it on our check-ins. And it's an acronym, radar. So it stands for review, agree, discuss, action points, and reconnect. So we'll go through each one of these steps, and we have a bit of documentation from the Polyamory website here, so we don't get things mixed up. But I feel like this is a good method that you and your partner at home or partners can deploy to better communicate your emotions and how everything's going and do your check-ins. So let's get into it. So our review is to reflect on the past period, whether that's, the last couple of days since you checked in or the last week since you checked in. It's really just getting in there and doing a mental dump of all of the things that have been on your mind or bugging you, or things that came up this week that may be worth discussing. After you kind of review the week, then you go on to your second step, which is agree on an agenda. So collaboratively, you would set some discussion topics based on the things that you thought up, covering areas like quality time and yes. Sorry, the cat just jumped in there. So the next step, you would check out the agenda, what to agree on. So you would together pick some of those moments from the last time period that you feel need to be discussed. And whether that's quality time, sex and relationships, money, things like that, especially if you all live together. And then you would go right into a discussion about it. Open dialogue. This is the point where you use your I feel, I am statements and things like that. And you got to make sure everybody is having a good discussion on this. So any opinions you have on it, they could come up. This would be the back and forth section where, hey, I didn't know you feel like that. Or, I had a suspicion that you were upset and you didn't say anything, et cetera, et cetera. Finally, you'd go into the second A of radar, action points. So this would be the goal making phase. So when making goals, it's important to make sure that they have completion dates and actionable steps and things like that. Your base goal making skills. You'd want to use those here to create solid goals on how to improve the situation that everybody can agree on. And then finally, at the end of all of this discussion and being open, you want to reconnect with your partner. So a good round out for this is to plan some alone time or a date or doing something special that you both enjoy. Because let's face it, communicating like this isn't easy.
It's definitely not. So let's go back to the beginning. When the review at the very beginning, is this just like a general overview of what you did throughout the week? Or is this kind of a review of your mental processes throughout the week?
Well, I think it would be anything that would involve you and the partner you're checking in with. So if, they have been affected by your work schedule, you might want to talk about that. Interactions with other partners. If you're having a check-in with, say, like a common partner that you don't see too frequently, these check-ins might have a lot of other topics that aren't, of the day-to-day or things that you've been building up this week. So it depends on the partner, and it's going to depend on the things that you've felt, those spicy emotions throughout the week mostly.
And when you are in the discussion phase, how do you de-escalate tension?
Sure. Taking a step away is absolutely one of the best prearranging that said, like, if things are going to get heated, we're going to take some time off and we'll come back to this later. Do you have any ways that you de-escalate heated moments?
Yes, I do. I think that it's really important sometimes to kind of gauge the heated moment and say, okay, things are getting a little heated. Let's step back. Or is it just over?
Sure. Yeah.
Because sometimes those heated moments can just put a pin in it.
Absolutely.
Like you can't go any further. You're not going to gain agreement.
That's true.
You just have to stop and redirect.
You can definitely tell, like, people will get that closed off their body language. They'll cross their arms and they won't maintain eye contact.
Right.
They will no longer provide input. So those are times when you could step away until everybody's in a better headspace.
And when do you think that it gets to the level of the check-in situation just needs a mediator?
Oh, when does it need a mediator? Well, I'd say if every check-in gets heated really quickly, if there's a lot of recurring problems that, your action plan is not resolving, or if goals are not being met, it might be helpful to bring someone in to provide an extra level of accountability.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when the check-in goes well and you get to that reconnect phase, you were mentioning planning a date, but is there any way to just like immediately kind of reconnect on like a low-key level? Like it's not a long heated check-in. It's like a good check-in and nobody is disconnected necessarily.
Sure. I mean, some of the best ways to reconnect is physically, of course, and a long hug is a good way to reconnect with your partner.
Yeah.
Some good eye connection, compliments are, nice to exchange back and forth.
Sure.
Especially if, some of the things that brought up are really challenging, applauding the person for getting through that. Because, some of these conversations can definitely feel like emotional skydiving.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to kind of, at the end of a check-in, and especially at the end of a check-in, when you are in that reconnecting phase, to make statements like, I'm really happy with how open you are to discussing this with me, because it's just going to encourage that person to want to keep doing that more. Because not everybody's like open to this level of communication. This is new for a lot of people.
Sure.
I don't know a lot of monogamous couples that do things like this.
That's true. Yeah. Especially growing up with my parents and even seeing my friends' families, like no one talked like this. So, and I don't think society and culture have really taught us how to communicate our emotions either.
It's true. Yeah.
I don't remember that class in high school.
Definitely was not a communicate your feelings class in high school.
It wasn't. No. So don't feel bad if you get it wrong.
Exactly. We're all learning and growing and becoming good human beings. And I think that we all deserve a little bit of like at a girl, at a boy kind of situations. Like you did a really good job in that check-in. And I appreciate you being emotionally vulnerable about the thing that was bothering you. And let's keep doing this because it's really good for, I think, our relationship and just for us and our growth in general.
Absolutely.
So that is checking in, which is super duper important when you are, especially when you're transitioning into open relationships and polyamory. Check-ins, like you need to be having them quite often.
Absolutely. And be sure to check out the multiamory.com website for the full details on the radar method. This is a great place to start if you're new at this kind of communication. It's really helpful to have a step-by-step to
for sure
walk you along. And they have a lot of great information over there on that site too. So be sure to check them out.
Absolutely. And we'll throw up some information about checking in on modernpolyamory.com as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be sure to check out our website as well.
Yep.
Awesome.
So we will see you next time.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Bye. Hi, I'm Jan, and there is more Modern Polyamory coming up. Yes, it's in the Google Calendar. Kyle's not here right now, but that's okay because I have an entire gravy boat in front of me. So let's pull some gravy boat terms. First term up. polycule, what I'm missing right now because I'm all by myself, which is really hard for a polyamorous person, apparently. A polycule is the group of people that are all related to one another because they have a mutual partner. So everyone in the polycule doesn't have to be dating. Only a couple people have to be dating to bring together a larger group of people who will all hopefully get along. So that's what a polycule is. Mine is growing, and it's been super fun getting to meet a bunch of new people. Living in a new town, sometimes it can be difficult. So polycule is a good thing to have. Next one. Cool. Consensual non-monogamy. So this is any relationship structure in which all partners are aware and consenting to some form of non-monogamy, whether sexual, emotional, or both. So consensual non-monogamy is a huge umbrella term that we use a lot of times in academics to talk about any kind of non-monogamy. So as long as it's not like infidelity, which would be like non-consensual non-monogamy. As long as everybody kind of is on the up and up and knows what's going on and it's not monogamy, then it falls under the umbrella of consensual non-monogamy. And of course, as we know, polyamory involves relationships. And then there's, hookup culture, friend with benefits, swinging. There's all kinds of different ways to do non-monogamy. And one of the more popular ones these days is ethical non-monogamy, which is basically just like we do what we want and we talk about it and we're honest, and it's not really about relationships. It's more about just kind of getting out our get outs. And yeah, so consensual non-monogamy is the wide umbrella term. And let's see. We'll do one more of these short little gravy boats. Relationship anarchy. So relationship anarchy is a philosophy that rejects traditional relationship hierarchies. One might say that polyamory rejects traditional hierarchies because we're trying to reduce hierarchies in our relationships. However, relationship anarchy is basically just a no rules-based approach to non-monogamy in general. A relationship anarchist does not follow rules, and they don't typically get into relationships quickly. And when they do get into relationships, sometimes they can be shorter or longer. The fact of the matter is, it's anarchy. There are just no rules with it. I do believe, however, that if you are a relationship anarchist, the most ethical thing that you can do is state up front to someone, I am a relationship anarchist. So you need to know what that means, because a lot of people don't know what it means yet. People are still learning about it, and there can be some hurt feelings if somebody doesn't vibe right with your anarchy. People fall in love, they get attached, it's hard. So just, be forthcoming with your anarchy. We'll do like 2 more of these for this segment. Be a shorter gravy boat. Swinging. This is something I don't have any experience with, so I hate that I got this one on my solo gravy boat. This is a non-monogamous sexual encounters, often within a community setup. So what I do know about swinging is that this oftentimes happens around parties. And this is where one couple gets with another couple. Sometimes they exchange partners. Sometimes they have sexual relations altogether. It just really kind of depends. I'm sure these dynamics are just as much snowflakes as polyamorous dynamics, but they don't tend to get relational. People tend to stick with their nesting partner, or the partner that they live with, but they have encounters with other people. And that's basically swinging. They'll join like groups and clubs, and you can go out to like swinger nights and hook up with other swingers. So it's a fun lifestyle. It's not for me, but not for me to yuck someone's yum either. So we'll do one more, and then that will be it for the gravy boat of polyamory terms, or knowledge, or love, or whatever we're calling it today. The gravy boat. last one. Anchor partner. So your anchor partner is a long-term committed poly partner who provides stability. So my anchor partner would be my husband, Rick. And I have been with him for 24 years. And we have done life together. And I can't imagine my life without him. He's my rock and my stability. And I'm glad I got this one on a solo because I can kind of brag on my husband a little bit. He's a great guy. He's the one that taught me about non-monogamy and having an open relationship, and it has really changed my life and opened me up to so much love. So to my anchor partner, my nesting partner, my love. And that has been it for Modern Polyamory's Gravy Boat of Love, poly terms, knowledge, whatever you want to call it. We'll see you soon. Bye. Hi, have you ever wanted to ask us a question? Head on over to our Discord server and ask the question, and we might feature your question in one of our upcoming segments.
Oh, it's got a good texture too. I just have a cool bit in the background.
Do you want to put it like closer?
It's in the background.
We'll sit a little closer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. It's brought to you by Trojan and Condoms. Wrap it up. No, we don't have a sponsor yet. If you're interested in sponsoring us.
We like money.
I mean, the world decided to play capitalism. So I guess we got to jump in.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about unethical non-monogamy.
How do you cheat?
How do you cheat?
In an open relationship? It seems like, because I did look up some definitions on Urban Dictionary before we got started tonight, yes. And they defined, polyamory as, cheating, like fancy cheating, essentially.
Yeah, fancy, yeah. Fancy cheating.
Fancy cheating. Pinkies out. Cheating. Cheating with pinkies out. So it's not exactly true, is it?
No, it's not. It's not exactly true. Because if you take it from consensual non-monogamy, which is the science-y, Y&C term for it. So if you take consensual non-monogamy and you break it up, you get the word consensual, which means that everybody is on the up and agreeing that this can happen. And then non-monogamy, which is just basically not doing a monogamy.
Not doing it. So what?
Not doing it. So you consensually agree
between right that makes it okay.
So within non-monogamy, we have all these agreements. You make an agreement with one partner that you're going to see another partner, and you say ahead of time in advance, we're going to do this on this time and this day. That's ethical non-monogamy because everybody's on the up and they're aware about it.
Sure.
But if you're sneaking around and only telling your partner about like every third date that you take, there can be some problems. And it's not just the act of being dishonest,
right?
Which essentially qualifies that as some sort of infidelity. It also makes it impossible for your other partner to understand the progression of deepness within the relationship. If they think you're only seeing them once a week, but you're actually seeing them 3 times a week,
right,
your relationship's going to deepen quicker than if you were just seeing somebody 1 time a week.
Absolutely.
So that causes some problems as well with breakdowns of communication. And then you can also just be completely unethical, like just a complete infidelity.
Sure.
You have a partner that you didn't tell anyone about, or a hookup that happened that you didn't tell anyone about.
Right. So definitely the amount of time you've been with someone, non-monogamy wise,
right,
is going to affect that. So do you think at some point an uncommunicated date is passable? Like if you've been in a polycule for a number of years, Or is this just something that kind of happens right out the gate? Like you gotta, if it's a new relationship, it needs to be heavily communicated, and then as norms take place, do you think that's things change, or is that just couple to couple?
I think it's couple to couple. It just depends on the level of comfort from couple to couple. I know in my marriage, I date, like, I'll always say I'm going to this place with this new person that I'm trying to meet. And I'll go out on a date, and I know going into that first date, maybe even the second one, that like probably not a whole lot's going to happen besides communication.
Sure.
And then, if I want to take it to the next level, then that partner has to come home with me at some point and then meet my husband. And after that, it's just kind of like, oh, is this going to be a parallel thing? Are we going to hang out, kitchen table it?
Sure.
But so for me, I feel more comfortable in the sexual aspect of the relationship if it's on the up and up, and I don't feel like I'm doing something scandalous.
Right. You don't want to be scandalous.
You don't want to be scandalous.
So what about the role of the hinge, right?
Right.
At some point, because they're dating other people.
Sure.
When do you start communicating that with the other partners?
When, like, for me?
Yeah, if you were a hinge, yeah.
Oh.
Like, when would you tell your other, casual partners that you're dating someone else casually?
Probably before the first date, but that's just me.
Right.
And not everybody has to operate that way.
Sure. Right.
But for me, for my comfort level, I want to make sure that my established partnerships are okay with me adding someone else in.
Yeah.
Because they could say, hey, are you sure that you have time for all of this?
Right.
I have a lot of commitments, and any new partner is taking my time and dividing it again.
Right.
And so I think it's important to just mention, like, hey, I want to do this, so that if the partner has a problem or they're feeling like they're not getting enough attention, they can kind of say, hey, well, can we think about it? Can we not right now? I'm feeling like I'm not getting enough time or something like that. It's just open communication can be difficult for some people, but some people, like, I like to just put it out there.
Right. And I think that the communicating these things, especially early on in relationships, has been something that is socially shunned, right?
Yeah.
Even in monogamous relationships, when you're just dating around, if you're just dating around with 4 or 5 people, that's still a form of non-monogamy.
It's true.
Right. And the fact that, society, movies, and everything like that typically has people not communicating their relationships.
They'll communicate the not relationship part.
Right.
Like, we're just kicking it.
Yeah.
We're not dating.
I'm going to go see someone. We're just hanging out.
Right.
There's a bit of a, some shady behavior there.
Right. And it could be that it's shady behavior because there's don't ask, don't tell.
Right. Yeah.
And how do you navigate through a don't ask, don't tell relationship when you're trying not to be, what was it, infidelist?
Infidelis, yeah.
Infidelis.
Because if you're to not tell, at some point your partner is going to pick up every time your calendar says, track meet. You're not running around the track, are you?
Right. Who's track?
Yeah, I'm getting that.
And where are y'all meeting?
That booty slap is what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. So it's complicated. It's definitely a very complicated.
And also, I think that you can be a little, yeah, for sure. I think you can be a little guilty of participating in somebody else's infidelity.
Right. You might not even know about it.
You may not know about it. And I think that that's less bad if you didn't know about it.
Sure. Yeah. It's not on you at that point.
Right. Sure.
It would have been on, but it still hurts. Still sucks to know that you've hurt somebody else's feelings.
For sure.
On purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not everybody is going to come out of the gate into an open relationship or polyamory and be perfect at everything. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do wrong things sometimes.
Yeah.
And, even the most studied people have made huge mistakes. I've participated in somebody else's infidelity.
Yeah, we are all human.
So, it's one of those things that you just have to say, well, that was probably not the most ethical thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
And that relationship's behind me now. And it's in the past for a reason.
But I know you've been poly to your husband for a very long time. Do you still get butterflies when you're bringing up a new relationship, or you're like, hey, I'm going to go out with someone? Is it anxiety for you?
No.
It is for me. 'Cause I got to work up a little nerve.
Sure.
For me to let my partners know my other plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're similar to me. I've had some interesting experiences in my life that may have, make me feel a certain way.
Sure.
But so that's not common for you?
No, it's not. It's not common for me. The butterflies I feel are usually more like excited, like I think this guy is going to be good, or this girl is going to be fun. So it's more excited butterflies for me.
Right.
But that's just because I have a very, very permissive husband.
Right. Yeah. And I think you're just, you're on what I'm hoping we could all get to is the better side of poly.
Sure.
Where, if you've been trained by past monogamous relationships that, infidelity is wrong, going out with people is wrong, bringing up something like this to your wife, that you're going to go out with your potential girlfriend could be difficult.
I will say the very first time that I made a date with another man, I was very nervous about how things were going to progress and, would the actual things that we talked about be the same with me dating a man as they would be with me dating a woman? And I mean, obviously I wasn't surprised that they were the same. It was handled the same, but, that was probably the only time that I was nervous to bring it up. But I find that like blunt honesty works really, really well for me.
Yeah.
It can be really fun.
Swallow the frog.
For sure. Just tell the truth. Yeah.
And as hard as it is, it's just, you have to communicate these things.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're doing an unethical non-monogamy.
Doing an uneth. Going full uneth.
So stay ethical.
Stay very ethical.
Communicate 100%.
All the things.
And you're going to end up having a lot easier relationships when everything's on the up and up. There's less anxiety. You're not going to get caught because you're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
And I think that it's just a better way of going about things. But yes, people think you can't cheat in non-monogamy.
Yeah, they think it's just one big hall pass, but it's not.
No.
It's not.
It can be, but
it can be.
Yeah.
But not typically.
Yeah, no, not typically in polyamory.
No.
Because there's love involved in people's feelings. And
it's true, yeah. It's a bit more than just your hookup culture.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's kind of what we had for today about infidelity and unethical non-monogamy is what I like to call it. Because I don't know, I don't like the word infidelity. No. But I like that unethical non-monogamy.
Yeah.
So.
It's better off.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for listening. We have more exciting segments coming up for you, so be sure to stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.
Where's you?
And that wraps up today's episode of Modern Polyamory. And as always, be sure to check us out on social media. Now, where are we going, Jan?
At Modern Polyamory is our handle on most social media, and www.modernpolyamory.com is our website.
Be sure to check it out.